pumpkins are taking over the garden, and a lot of the sunflowers, volunteers, and the ones I planted are starting to open up. We have here, in this little mess here, we have a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, and over here is an unknown pumpkin that came up on its own from underneath the garage. Seems very nice. I wish I knew what it is. And then this other volunteer pumpkin that started off the season. This one right here. Yeah, it keeps dropping all the baby pumpkins. So this plant did spend a long time wilting every day, and it finally found a connection with some nourishment, I think, in that composter there. And now it's doing very well as far as the leaves are concerned, but every time it forms a baby pumpkin, it just drops off. And they are very small, those pumpkins, and very deeply ribbed. So I think they might be the midnight pumpkins from last year. They're dark green pumpkin, almost black. But yeah, I don't see an actual pumpkin out here because it keeps dropping them. So this might be taking up a lot of space for no reason. And yes, the garden is a mess, so calm down. Right here. There's one of them that hasn't opened yet, but I don't see any of them. I think it might be getting too much nitrogen from the compost, and maybe that's why. But kind of a irritating thing going on here. It's taking over the world, as you can see. Right here. There's another one that hasn't opened yet, and I don't know if the bees can even find this one because it's all the way down on the ground. But we'll see if we get anything out of this pumpkin. I did harvest both of the racer pumpkins, and I don't see any more of those. Let's see. Kind of tripping over stuff here. Yeah, that is a jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lantern's kind of taken over the garden now, where there aren't any volunteer pumpkins at least. And I only see the one big one, but the rest of them are going off across the lawn, and I wish they wouldn't do that. But if it makes them happy, what are you going to say? Let's try to move them. There we go. I did spray the garden with my concoction of potassium citrate, a little bit of dish soap, and a gallon of water the other day because I was starting to see powdery mildew. And these plants have not really produced anything yet. Oh, there's another pumpkin. So I don't want them dying of powdery mildew before they can produce something. Yes, the weeds have gotten out of control. That's why I call this channel what I call it. This happens every year. Now, let's see. That might be a jack-o'-lantern, but it looks like... Let's see where that vine is going. That is a racer. So, nice little racer there. This screen sometimes doesn't show me. There we go. Okay, I have barking dogs here. Yeah, there might be other pumpkins in here and I'm just not seeing them. Anyway, I'm not going to be doing any gardening for a couple of days because I sprained my hand working in a churchyard yesterday. I was dumb enough to volunteer to weed, and of course the supervisor gave me something a little bit too difficult for the equipment I had, and I ended up spraining my hand. So that's the lesson there, is don't volunteer. because that always happens. Here, our corn stalks are drying out. They will make a great fall decoration. What else have we got here? We've gotten tomatoes, but I'm disappointed with the size of Manitoba. So I will not be growing it again next year. And here are some volunteer sunflowers. And that's a poodle making a noise. What's up? What's up, honey? What's up, Doc? Huh? What happened here? What? Oh, that's on your foot. That's on your, is that on your foot? That's on your foot. Is that on your foot? Yeah, that's on your foot. Okay. All right. We never talked to Lily. Let's have a talk with Lily. What are you eating, Lil? Maybe I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. No. No, you don't do that. Yeah, that's icky. That's icky. This is why we don't talk to Lily, because she's always doing something she shouldn't be doing. You want to go in the house, Lil? Yeah. Come on. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah, she's, yeah. She says, that was yummy, Mom. She was eating poop. Poodles are not dainty little critters like the rumor has it. Okay. Here we go. I thought I heard Mila out here. All right, let's put this little one in the house. I'll be right back. Okay, took care of the Lily problem. She's going to go back looking for it again. Yes, she is. Lil, no more snacks. No more snacks. Okay? Okay. All right, let's see what other sunflowers you want to see what other sunflowers we have? Yeah. Uh-oh. What was that noise? Is that your sister trying to get out? Yeah. Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay. Here's another. I think this is the volunteer. This is a volunteer sunflower. Yeah. Up there. Yeah, so that's starting to open. And these I planted. So let's see what these are like. Of course, it's facing north. Here. That's pretty. That is pretty. Okay. And, yeah, these are nice. And there's one up there. And we got these tomatoes. I hope the squirrel doesn't eat them before I can pick them. These are the volunteer. These are a couple of volunteer plants, and they're beautiful tomatoes. I'm going to have to prop them up today because the squirrel will definitely eat them. Or the ground whatever it is, the ground squirrels. Now the neighbors have Manitoba too, and they're not as small as mine, so I feel kind of like I did something wrong, but I am just not into the size of these things. Yeah. And I've got some eggplant here. I'm gonna have to give to somebody else. Here's some sunflowers I planted. Pretty. That is a dwarf. And over here, this is the sunflower I planted. This is also a dwarf. I don't know what the white thing is on there. Interesting. Uh-oh, Rosie's mad because she got put in the house. And this celosia is kind of interesting. I planted, because it's all they had. They had yellow and pink. Even though it looked terrible together, I planted them. And there was the original ones right there. Right there. And That was the original one. They seem to have reseeded themselves. And also some of these might be from last year. That's an orange one. I didn't buy that. So either it there was a genetic thing going on here or in the reseeding, or I don't know. They but anyway, all these came up. These are the original plants down here. They're at the bottom. And all these came up. They might be from last year, but celosia doesn't hit its stride until August, so it's hard to tell what happened here. But much better colors than what I bought. This is like a hot pink version of the pink one that I bought. And there's some yellow ones. That's the original again. But the yellow is turning orange in the new growth. So it starts out yellow and then it turns orange. Interesting. So I'll just let them reseed themselves. Maybe they'll come up next year and do something interesting. So that was my experience with celosia. Of course, I went to Menards the other day. And Menards has a flaming red celosia with long petals on it, I guess you'd call it. And I think I'm going to get me one of those because that was cool. But celosia is supposed to be a warm fall, so hopefully these will still be here in October. That'll be nice. And there's Princess Charlene doing well. And there we go. We got, what's this called? This is Fragrant Plum. And we have had a big problem this year with these guys. But what happens is they don't get very far in the damage before they get killed either by me or by the food that I give these plants. So I'm hoping they will not lay a lot of eggs. And that is a Earth Angel, which has had a rough summer, but looks great right now, except for here the color isn't so good on the leaves. So yeah, of course there's Grand Champion blooming like crazy. I wish it were scented. That would be heaven, but it's just not. Yeah, so that's where we are in the garden this week with the poodle eating poop and all that good stuff. And we had a lot of hummingbirds, but they're starting to leave the neighborhood now. And I was going through a lot of food for a while. They don't like this feeder very much. They like this one over in the garage. So anyway, all right. Yeah, we did take out the chokeberry bush, and once my hand heals, I'm going to try to take out the rest of it because that Lilac Sunday is coming any week now. And yeah, so that's where we're at this week. And I'll see you next week.